Yo, what up? How's it going? And welcome back. Today's video we'll be doing Cloud9 versus FlyQuest. This is week 5, day 1 of the LCS Spring Split. And I'm going to do this video a little bit different. We'll be doing this video, we're actually going to watch the draft go through. Like actually watch the draft. And I'll watch it in ×2 speed. I normally just have the draft already pulled up. But just trying something a little bit different so I can talk through the draft as it's going through rather than talking about the draft after it's already being shown. So I can talk through as it goes. So anyways, let's just get right into it. This game was really fun to watch. This game was really awesome. It was really scrappy, and then I can explain why it is, but cool. So we see the J span coming through. That's not too weird. Just split push ban. Split push, Siege Champion. So the double Siege Champion ban right here. Lucian ban, pretty standard. Okay, the next ban. Urgot ban, pretty standard. And then the Ezreal ban. Pretty standard ban, but something that's interesting about these bans right here is that these are all poke and siege champion bans. So what this tells me in this game, whenever I see these bans right here, is this is also specific to this game for FlyQuest. So bans are really team specific right now. There are some standard bans like Urgot and Lucian is a pretty standard ban. Lucian is Ezreal is a semi-standard ban. Zoe's a semi-standard ban. Like these are all powerful champions, right, in their own right. But since we see the 3 poke siege champions banned right here, what that's telling me right here is that's really team specific in the sense of FlyQuest has already shown that they really like doing split push siege compositions. They really like setting up their side laner for success. And Jace, Zoe, and Ezreal have a lot of tools to set up your side laner for success because they provide, even if the Jace can either be the side laner or can be part of the group and can provide a lot of success for their side laner to be able to do their stuff and for the team group to be able to siege down the enemy and be safe and poke them down with damage. So that's why these bans make a lot of sense, because it was a little strange looking at this initially when you don't put that in the context and you just see why they ban all the poke champions. Just seems kind of weird they ban all the poke champions. And like, why don't they just take them for themselves? Just specific to this team, and they also didn't want to take it. Nocturne's pretty standard ban, you know, brain dead engage. Also, Cloud9 loves to run the Nocturne compositions. Cool. Cassio first pick here. Okay, I actually didn't remember if the Cassio first pick was right here. So Cassio first pick is obviously good for obvious reasons. It's triple flex. I haven't really seen Licorice play it, so it's more of like a double flex for Sneaky and Nisqy, but an obvious flex right here. But the Cassio pick's going to come in really clutch. It seemed like both teams had a game plan coming into this game. Cool. But the Cassio pick is actually really important in this game. So the Cassio pick, and then the insta-lock Alistar Yasuo. So Yasuo is obviously a flex pick, but when you lock in Alistar Yasuo, that usually tells you that's the bot lane matchup. And although Galio is a flex pick, Galio Cassio is a pretty standard bot lane nowadays. So, and I can explain how the trading goes in these lanes when we get to the matchup in just a minute. But this is a favorable matchup in the early stages of the lane for this matchup, actually. But I'll explain that in just a minute. And then this is actually a true flex pick. So this is actually a true flex pick that can actually match in a side lane. So this pick is actually really good here. So it's a true flex pick that matches in the side lane, as well as Sylas is insane with Alistar Ultimate. So it's insane with Alistar Ultimate, especially at level 16. Because at level 16, the interaction with the Alistar Ultimate is you take the Alistar Ultimate, you use the Alistar Ultimate, and you're like ungodly tanky. And then like throughout the duration of the Alistar Ultimate, by the end of it, you can grab another Ultimate. Like by the time it ends, it's about time to grab another Ultimate. So it's pretty insane. Cool. Let's see what FlyQuest grabs here. Sejuani. So Sejuani, obvious synergy with the Yasuo. You can double stack your passive with the Yasuo, and then obviously do the knock up. So it makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah, Sejuani with melees is insane, especially with melees that have auto attack resets like Yasuo. So like you auto and then Q and you instantly get 2 stacks on your passive. Okay, Olaf makes sense. Olaf makes sense because you have lanes that are going to have prio early because you're going to have bot prio early. And if this is Sylas can actually get prio in a lot of lanes he can have with his passive in a lot of early lanes, so this makes sense. Zac ban's okay. It makes sense if they want to, Cloud9 wants to dive, but I'm not a huge fan of the Zac ban. Zac ban makes sense in the sense of Cloud9's probably going to prio in their lane, so this is a safe game for Zac to be in, but I don't know if, I'm not really sure if it makes sense with their composition that they've shown so far. It makes sense with like the Galio ults onto the Cassio, but so far what Cloud9's shown is like their damage dealer is the Cassio, and probably going to be using the Galio to peel back rather than go forward, because all FlyQuest comp does is go forward, so it doesn't make sense for Cloud9 to draft a comp that goes forward into them. It makes sense where they have a comp that plays more defensively into this comp, so that ban doesn't really make all that much sense to me. The Riven Respect ban, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, they walk in Irelia here. Irelia has a whole lot of synergies with Sejuani, so just champion synergies, as well as you can set up for a 1-3-1 with this composition so far. Makes a lot of sense. And the Kindred's going to get walked in here. So interesting, the Kindred getting locked in. So Kindred isn't like super powerful in the meta right now, but Kindred makes a lot, by the way, like these comps are really interesting because they make a lot, both of the comps make a lot of sense in this game, and this game comes a lot down to actual teamfight execution, which is why this game is so scrappy. But the Kindred pick makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna say picks make a lot of sense in this game because this draft is actually pretty good from both teams and both coaches, barring a couple things that I said. Both the drafts are actually really good. Yeah, both the drafts are pretty good. So we have the Kindred pick because this comp wants to just go forward onto you and have a bunch of like really upfront damage so far, and Kindred has the ability to kind of stuff the upfront damage, like the instant burst of Sejuani Yasuo ults with the Alistar combo and the Irelia ults onto you doing her full combo. So has a lot of really upfront damage and less sustained damage, you know, outside of the Yasuo auto attacking you and the Irelia auto attacking you after they do their full combo. So it has a lot of upfront damage rather than like super sustained damage that you would normally get from like a marksman-centric comp, or like a Cassio Rise type of based comp. So this makes a lot of sense because they want to go on to you. So if you can make a way to where you cancel burst damage, this makes a lot of sense, just comp wise. So Cloud9 so far is building a comp that is okay with you coming onto them, and then they deal well with that, and then FlyQuest is building a comp that just goes straight on to you. And then I'll talk a minute about the issues of both comps in a second that we're going to have in the game once these comps are completely figured out. And I'll tell you one big issue I have with FlyQuest composition, and then the issue I have with both compositions in general that is going to be really apparent in the game, and why it has to be so scrappy in this game. Okay. We have the Aatrox pick and the LeBlanc pick. Okay, cool. So let's look at these picks. Okay, so LeBlanc, just a strong champion. So another champion that wants to go forward. So it wouldn't make any sense for FlyQuest here. They have to over-index now into... they really kind of have to over-index into a champion that can go forward and can be really self-sufficient, because their whole composition is going to go super far forward, so it kind of doesn't make sense for them to pick like a control mage here. So the LeBlanc pick makes a lot of sense. I will tell you one, there's a big issue with both drafts, and I'll tell you what the big issue is, but it doesn't really matter for this game because both teams have this issue. But I'll tell you that in just a minute. But one issue that FlyQuest comp has, and they obviously had this game plan coming in, so it doesn't matter what Cloud9 picked because they wanted this game plan regardless. One issue they have is if the Cassio player is really good, their composition is going to have a hard time. The Cassio pick kind of denies a lot of what they're doing, and we're going to see a lot of team fights where Sneaky's placement of the miasma kind of stuffs a lot of what they're trying to do. So really good placement of the miasma can kind of stuff a lot what they're doing. Just think about like what their team needs to do with their champion. So The Miasma can stuff the Yasuo ultimate. The Miasma can stuff Sejuani trying to dash in, can stop the Alistar combo, can stop Irelia from dashing around, can stop LeBlanc from moving around. So the Cassio pick was amazing, and whenever I was watching the game, I forgot that the Cassio was even the first pick. I was like, man, the Cassio pick was so good into this team comp, but this was actually the first pick, so FlyQuest just went, they really had a plan they wanted to play today, so maybe should have went with the Cassio ban rather than the Nocturne ban, because this team, I would have probably really liked a Nocturne ban rather, because this team seems to be fine with... This team would do fine with another team engaging onto them, so Cassio ban probably would have been better because the Cassio kind of stuffs a lot of what they're trying to do. So it really depends on how good the Cassio player is, on how well this team composition can perform. But the workaround with this on FlyQuest composition, I call this composition a catch you in the streets comp, because if FlyQuest can properly set it up to where they catch you in the streets or they get a proper lead, then it really won't matter. So if they can catch you in the streets, if they can do a proper setups, then it won't matter if Sneaky's Cassio is really, really good. But the Cassio pick is really good into this comp. So if Sneaky's playing super well, it's gonna make their execution a little bit more tricky. So it definitely makes FlyQuest's job a little bit more tricky, but it does come down a lot to the Cassio play. Cool. So the big issue with both compositions that they're going to have is that both of their sieges are god awful. Barring that they get either of their side laners get a big advantage. So something that Cloud9 and FlyQuest both have is they both have champions that can succeed in the side lane. So they have Aatrox, Sylas, Yasuo, and Irelia. So they actually have teams that can succeed in the side lane, but unless they can get a big advantage in the side lane, then they can't actually set up a decent siege, because their actual group siege is god awful. So that's why you'll see in this game, even when teams get Baron, they're hardly able to get anything, because the actual siege potential of these teams are so terrible. So the only way to ever get objectives is the actual win team fight. So this game is going to come completely down to winning team fights and playing around objectives. So the only way either of these teams will ever get towers is like playing smart around back timing. So playing smart around back timings to get pressure around towers, and you can maybe siege on a side lane if you want to, or win team fights and then brute force onto a tower, or brute force team fight onto a tower is the only way that teams will even be able to siege. But like playing like, but actually just like if you're but if a team just gets an advantage and they group siege onto a tower without the Baron buff, it's going to be tough. Even with the Baron buff, it's pretty tough if you don't already have supers in other lanes. So that's one issue both of these compositions have, is neither of them have actual siege. They have side laners, but both teams have answering side laners. So neither team actually has siege, so their siege is god awful. So so barring either team gets a big advantage, the only way to actually siege onto the enemy team is winning a team fight around a big objective. So that's why we're going to see so many fights in this game. So this wasn't a classic NA Fiesta. I mean, it kind of is this game kind of is a Fiesta, but there's a reason why, because both teams have to kill each other in order to get any advantage on the map, honestly, because neither side laners really get a big advantage. Cool. All right, that's the draft. Let's do it. This game was awesome. This game was really fun to watch. This game was really hype. Okay. Oh, I didn't talk about where the junglers can play around and how the lane matchups actually go. So let's talk about that real quick. Sorry about that. My bad. Let's talk about how the lane matchups can actually go. So the Cassio Galio definitely can get prio in the early laning phase, and Yasuo Alistar actually has almost no threat onto, in the actual 2v2, have no threat or any tools to do anything about it, honestly. Like to really trade back that much. They can deal a little bit damage to the Galio, but really have no tools to threaten back. And the combo that Galio and Cassio can do is actually pretty neat. So if Galio can land his knockup onto somebody, he can land his knockup, And once he landed his knock up, the Cassio puts Miasma down. He does his taunt, and they can actually like half health with one combo. So she puts Miasma down, taunt. You put the poison down. You hit a couple Twin Fangs, and you can actually almost one combo somebody. So there is a slight kill threat with the Cassio Galio lane, but don't expect it. But does have extra trading power with this lane early. But the Alistar Yasuo lane definitely is on the back foot for the early part. For the early part of the laning phase, the way the mid lane matchup goes is definitely a skill matchup. What's really interesting is definitely a skill matchup. The Sylas can get lane priority with his passive, definitely in the early laning phase and later in the game. So definitely can get prio with his passive. This lane's really interesting to see because if the LeBlanc actually goes for the aggressive side of the trade, the Sylas player can push through or where the distortion goes, so the Sylas player can actually just jump through and go to where she wants to go back and can win the trade out. So the LeBlanc player kind of has to play to how the Sylas player wants to play. So I would say it's slightly Sylas favored, but favored, but it's a pretty even lane state. But definitely the Sylas can get prio. Cool. And in the early laning phase, Aatrox is favored in terms of like trading power, but at level 6, this lane gets a little bit more tricky. Irelia can have some outplay potential and can have some solo kill potential, but definitely a lot of these lanes require jungle assistance. In Sejuani, the Sejuani power of ganking a Yasuo lane or ganking an Irelia lane is pretty insane based off of the Q resets and how that interacts with Sejuani's passive. So look for Sejuani to make plays around the Yasuo lane or the Irelia lane, and getting one of those lanes ahead would be super impactful to the game. So look for that. And Svenskeren can maybe look for some invades in the early game, and can try to look for some dragon control in the early game. But Sejuani will most likely play around bottom side, and that's for the interaction between the Yasuo passive and the fragility of this bottom lane. So maybe look for that. But the big deal, the big win conditions of these games is both of these teams are just going to be fighting around the mid game, and whoever wins team fights wins the game, basically. So it's whoever sets up team fights properly and executes in those team fights. So that's why this game is really explosive and exciting. So this is actually a pretty balanced game, so it's just whoever plays better wins. It's kind of cool. But this game's pretty cool to watch. Cool. Alright, so here we are. So Sejuani started bottom side. So what this tells you, if Sejuani's starting bottom side, then she's going to path top side. Can maybe look for a gank before she backs, but then resets and then look for a play bottom side. So that's what that tells you with that pathing setup. Okay, Svenskeren's getting the bottom scuttle. And his mark's on top scuttle, so he'll probably look to double scuttle here. I need to move my camera. Sorry about that. So Santorin gets double scuttle. Kindred likes to do single target camps on her first back, so this is pretty normal pathing. You get red buff, scuttle, top scuttle, and then go back. Sejuani doesn't have a whole lot of fighting power into the Kindred, would press the attack, so this makes a lot of sense. Lanes are kind of going how they're supposed to. Ooh, Zeyzal loses his flash there. It's a negative trade. Oh, they lost double summoner as well. Licorice gets a positive trade there. That's pretty good. Nice. But look where the Sejuani's moving. So Sejuani's pathing bottom side. So Zeyzal doesn't have flash, but WildTurtle and JayJ doesn't have their combat summoner. Doesn't have their aggressive combat summoner, but they have both their flashes. Okay, let's watch this in real time. Okay, so JayJ flashes forward onto the Galio. Knocks him back. They almost killed Turtle Hero. This play was insane. But watch how the Sejuani passive stacks. It's like look how fast it stacks. It's crazy. Ooh, if that like stack would have popped, they may have had a chance to hit the Yasuo Q and she may have died, but it was so close. But yeah. So getting that Galio flash out in the laning phase was super important for that play to be able to be made. That was bad play for Zeyzal. like to lose his flash earlier. Because if I'm in this game, I know Sejuani wants to make a play down there. Right. And I think they saw her walking by the Raptors earlier. So they knew she would have been pathing down bottom because she would have had blue buffs. So we would have known she would have started down there. Okay, so the reason why Svenskeren was able to do that is because he was doing that off back timings. So the reason why he was able to sneak that was based off of back timings. So Zeyzal was already respawned and was coming back on the map, and so he was already back on the map. And then WildTurtle and JayJ had reset, and LeBlanc had reset. So he was able to do that based off of back timings. That's how they had the prio there. And they knew the Sejuani would be topside, so that's how he was able to sneak that, is based off of back timings rather than actually having like prio based off of lane power. He did that based off of back timings, which was actually really smart. So good for them. Really smart play. He doesn't even get punished. I mean, he loses Scuttle, but he really doesn't even get punished. Just solid play. Hope you guys aren't hearing the outside noise. I have my window open. Okay. Yeah, now we're just farming up right now. There's no neutral objective. Most of these lanes are just honestly, we're trying to farm up in these lanes. Santorin's gonna try to make a play with this Yasuo lane. Boom. Yeah. Nice. 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 Yeah, Sejuani just wants to make plays with the side laners for sure. Stacking up that passive is so easy. Yeah, and so we were playing around Zeyzal's flash timing. So farming up on these lanes and then making a play around the Yasuo lane based off of flash timer. So that was a good play. Really good play. Cool. Alright, so next Drake is up in 150. So they're just trying to get vision control over this river, so that's pretty smart. So they're gonna have mid lane control this whole time. Cloud9 will. So that's what they're able to push in and get all this control over here. It's Svenskeren wins in the 1v1 right now, so they're gonna try to get control over this. But the issue they're gonna run into is WildTurtle is now level 6, so they actually just straight up can win in the 2v2. So they're gonna have a little bit of issue actually fighting around the Drake, because as I said, if FlyQuest comp can catch you in the streets, you're going to be in trouble. Okay, so FlyQuest or Cloud9 are on a back timing. So FlyQuest bottom lane is just going to push in, try to clear out some of that vision. And in about 50 seconds, we're going to be looking at setting up for a team fight. And Viper has TP advantage at the moment, so keep that in mind. Okay. Yeah, so they were able, yeah, so JayJ was able to push up on that based off of a back timer. Based off of Cloud9's back timers, Cloud9's bot lane back timer, he was able to do that, but WildTurtle needed to not play how he was playing whenever he saw C9's bot lane coming back in. He wanted to push this so the lane wouldn't be frozen, but he loses his flash for it, which could be really impactful in the next fight. So bad play by WildTurtle there. Really just standard play by C9. Bad play by WildTurtle because JayJ was making the correct play there. Okay. So Licorice is roaming down right now. The reason why Licorice is roaming down right now is because he doesn't have TP advantage. So he's roaming down because they're looking to fight for this objective is what it looks like. That's why he's actually walking all the way down here, as Viper can TP in. So Viper actually gets the push on the wave, so good for Viper. He's going to get some denial, but Licorice is already in a 20 CS advantage, so oof. Okay, this is a big fight right here, so let's watch how this actually happens. Let's watch this in half speed, because I know this like fight is pretty nutty. Okay, Zeyzal goes in. Okay, this is an issue. Oh, they're all bunched up right here. So far, that's an issue. That's an issue how they bunched up right there. They really couldn't be bunched up right there. And Svenskeren gets killed through his combo, so he can't ult. I think what Svenskeren was thinking is he's gonna jump in, and then he's gonna ult his team, so that like Cassio can roam through. But there's also a ward here for TP. So this fight setup is just so bad for C9, like the way they bunched up right here. And this fight setup is just perfect for FlyQuest, because Sneaky has to be here to deny this engage. Because imagine if Sneaky's here. This isn't Sneaky's fault for not being here, but imagine if Sneaky's here and he sets up this miasma right here. He denies so much of what they want to do. And so Sneaky has to be in these fights to deny FlyQuest comp of doing what they want to do. And then Sneaky's gonna, you have to flash? Yeah, Sneaky has to flash. They essentially lose just everything for that. Kill Yasuo. But yeah, and then they'll lose the Drake. So yeah, just really poor fight setup from C9. They have no business taking that fight without Cassio setting that up for them. Yeah, they can't be right there, and they can't bunch up without Cassio like denying that. They only win fights if Cassio is able to deny things, and Svenskeren's able to deny kills. Like that's what their comp set up to do. That's why that fight was so easy. So just good execution by FlyQuest, bad execution by C9. Cool. So the next objective to fight around is going to be the Rift Herald. So be looking for fight over vision control around here. People fighting in the side lanes again. This next fight, Licorice is going to have the TP advantage, so we can look for that. Okay. I watched this next fight a bunch of times. Okay. Zeyzal backed, or not Zeyzal, but JayJ backed. Because I'm going to have to slow it down at the next fight again. Because it's coming up soon. Okay, I think the fight's right here. Let's watch how this fight turns out. Well, this is well played by Svenskeren, I believe. Okay. Alright. But also super well played by Sneaky. Okay, so check this out. Okay, so here's the ult being thrown out. So you can see the ult being thrown out. Svenskeren sidesteps it. So in hindsight, obviously, it would have been better for Santorin just to chunk it into the bush, because it would have been guaranteed to hit somebody. But he really wants to hit Svenskeren so he can't ult, so he can kill him through his ult. And then watch Sneaky's miasma. Look at this, because the second part of this is if Alistar gets his combo on the Sneaky, then this doesn't matter. This doesn't matter that he missed. If the Alistar combo gets on the Sneaky, because then Sneaky gets caught up in the combo, and then Pobelter just jumps in, and they one-shot Sneaky, and then half-health Svenskeren. But Svenskeren maybe ults here, so this doesn't matter as much, because then this fight gets really chaotic, because everybody is like instantly chunked, and then it just comes out to who wins after the Kindred ult's gone. But this fight goes so bad because of how good this miasma is, and then missing the ult onto the Kindred. But really good play by Svenskeren and really good play by Sneaky, actually. So this completely denies us, so they just have to peel off in the play. Yeah. Honestly, Pobelter should have turned around as soon as the miasma came out, but that's like a split-second decision that you have to make. Right? That fight was over as soon as that miasma landed on top of the Alistar, and they missed the Sejuani combo. That fight was over. Yeah, and then they could just move over and get the Rift Herald. Solid play. Solid play. Cool. So they got the Rift Herald. Everybody's going to reset. Yeah, so here's the fight again. Miss. Miasma's in a perfect spot. Fight's over. Cool. Now neither top laner has TP. Viper's gonna have TP advantage next. So that'll be interesting to see. Cassio is definitely gonna be in the mid lane for the rest of the game. She can't actually be in the side lane. Lane assignments are kind of whatever this game. All of FlyQuest laners do decently in a side lane, so it doesn't. Their side lane allocation doesn't matter all that much. The only thing important for C9 is that they have either the Sylas or the Aatrox answering, because they can actually answer kind of anybody in the side lane. Because this game actually just really, really comes down to fighting around objectives, which is why this game seems really Fiesta-y. It is Fiesta-y because of like the swings and how the games go, that each team keeps trading who wins the fights because of like misplays. That's the Fiesta part of this game, but the part of it that's not really the Fiesta is like why it's like so fight based. Yeah, so this was just unlucky that he starts charging the Rift Herald. So he's charging I don't know why exactly he's charging the Rift Herald right here. I guess they don't see them coming through here, and I guess they just think they can get a charge off. I don't. I think they're just doing this because Mountain Drake's about to spawn, so they're gonna push us up, try to kill the wave, and then have the advantage, have the prio to move over to the mountain. But they actually don't have any vision over this side of the map. So I think that's the idea of what's happening right now. The mountain's about to spawn, so they'll put this down so that the advantage rotating over the mountain. But it's a little bit unlucky as right as he starts channeling it, the LeBlanc goes in. Yeah, and just honestly a perfect Sejuani ultimate. So lack of having any vision control around the objective that you want is a good setup by FlyQuest actually in this play. It just really unlucky timing, honestly. Really unlucky timing. Boom. Everybody gets caught in the combo. Yep. And now they have prio on the dragon because the enemy carry is dead. But thing about this game is that whenever people get kills, they only get priority on epic objectives. They don't get prio on actual objectives like towers, actual structures, because the siege is so bad on both teams. So even though there's like a 3k gold lead, you can't actually do much with that other than you have an advantage in the next fight. Maybe you have like maybe get an item advantage, like an item timing advantage. So the next couple of minutes will kind of slow down because people are just going to be collecting farm, getting their cooldowns back up, and then looking for a fight around the next big neutral that they want to fight for. So the next big one is Baron, and then Ocean will be spawning as well. So teams could be looking to trade vision around the side of the map right now. Ocean is really not valuable at all in this game because neither team has poke. So would be seeing teams trading vision around Baron on their back timings would most likely be seeing what we be seeing right now. Especially with FlyQuest having a Mountain Drake, definitely be seeing teams trading vision around top side. So we'll see the teams be grouping around mid and top right now, and the side laners answering the bottom. The side laners with TP. And the other thing that's going to be happening, so FlyQuest has a Mountain Drake, but C9 has a Cassio, so that's like they have a Mountain Drake, you feel me? So this will basically just be teams fighting over vision control based off of back timings and looking for who can have the best team fight set up. And then who executes on that is what we're going to be seeing now. Everybody has their cooldowns up. So now it's time for a fight. Let's see who wins. Both top laners have TP. Okay, C9's on a back timing, so FlyQuest is going to move in, get some vision. They're going to look for river vision, maybe some choke point vision. They don't really care about defensive vision right now because they have their turret line. Oh, this is when they go for this play. Okay. Let's talk about this play in a second. All right, the problem with this play, I don't think they see Svenskeren right now. Okay, the problem with this play is that this play is pretty impossible to do unless you one-shot Svenskeren, honestly. This play is really hard to do unless you one-shot Svenskeren. The idea is you turret dive Nisqy and Zeyzal, and then you burst them, and then you go and take the Baron. That's the idea. But with Svenskeren here, this play is actually really hard to do unless you one-shot him. Also with Aatrox having TP, this play is really hard to do. This is a pretty low percentage play. If it's just these two, this play's pretty good. And the LeBlanc has an early rotation, so she's going to get there first. But they see Svenskeren now, so this play should probably be called off. This play might need to be called off right now. Or, like, this is so tough right now because Svenskeren's about to face check this bush. And when he face checks this bush, what's going to happen is what they want to happen, right? Is for JayJ to do his combo and for Yasuo to ult. The problem is Yasuo needs to be about right here for him to be in ult range, I think. So he's going to walk up to get an ult range, but then they're like, but what's happening right now is Svenskeren's going, wait, why is Yasuo walking into our tower? Oh, I must be face checking a bush. So he starts to walk away, and then Nisqy is going to ground him. So this play needs to be called off right now. Right now. So this play should have been called off probably as soon as they saw Svenskeren, because I don't have the LeBlanc to collapse on the damage, and this play is the most telegraphed play I've ever seen in my goddamn life. And it's really low percentage, right? So it's pretty low percentage that you even burst this guy underneath this tower with his ultimate. But that's like the only way this play works is if you burst Svenskeren. But that's the idea. But he has to walk through the tower underneath a miasma. And now you're like, yikes. So it looks like Turtle's like completely inting here because he is. But this was the call, was like, Svenskeren's going to face check this bush. I'm going to knock him up on my combo, and then you ult over, and then we kill him, and then we peel off, and we take Baron. Or Svenskeren's not there, and then we tower dive these nerds, we kill them, and we peel off, and we take Baron. And then GG, we win the game. And so that's a fine idea. But as soon as they see the Svenskeren here, and the only way for this to do this, Turtle has to walk through this tower underneath the miasma, then this play kind of had to be called off because Pobelter's not close enough to actually provide the damage. This play was just a little overzealous. You can see the idea, right, though? Like, you can see the idea, just a little overzealous. The setup was not quite there. And then Cloud9, I want to say they play this Baron pretty good. They weave Baron at 2k like really well all the time. Yeah, they do that really well. Yeah, Cloud9 play the actual Baron take really well. They always leave it at 2k. That's what we see good teams do. They leave it at 2k. They let and then the enemy jungler has to come in because they see it at 2k, and then you kill them. Viper gets a trade kill. This fight lasts long enough to where JayJ's back, and Nisqy gets a kill on the backside. But what's good about this play for C9 is that they have a side laner that has Baron, and then they have someone who likes to be in the group that has a Baron, so they can actually Baron up 2 waves effectively. So 2 champions that have it are someone who likes to be in a side lane and somebody who likes to be in the group, so they can actually Baron up 2 waves. But another issue, again, even the group that's going to be laning, their siege isn't that good, so the siege is still going to be really slow even with Baron buff, because the Yasuo wave clear is kind of decent, and the actual siege of C9's comp is really terrible. So they'll get a couple towers, but it's not like a guaranteed inhibitor like Baron sometimes is. But they also didn't have any towers before this, so. Alright, so they get bottom tower with their Baron buff. Miasma just to deny some engage. And also this whole time you have to worry about getting caught in the streets if you're like spreading out a little bit. So C9's a little bit worried about getting caught in the streets. Ooh, looking for a flank play. And Baron buff's about to be gone, so they're about to reset. And the next thing people are going to be fighting for is going to be this dragon, so people are going to be exchanging. Yep, they go in for a dive type play because that's kind of the only way you can get structures without Baron. Like, seriously, the only way these comps get structures without Baron is by killing the enemy team. Siege is so awful. So, they're just going to back. Both teams' carries are going to reset, spend their Baron gold, and then get back, farm a little bit. The next objective to actually spawn is going to be Baron, so we'll be trading for vision around Baron again. Looking for that next fight, boys. The Infernal Drake is like the secondary prize, so definitely you'll just be looking for vision around topside. Looking for the next fight to set up. Oh shoot, did I miss that? What just happened? Okay. Turtle just ent. Let's see. Yeah, Turtle just kind of ented there. Okay, that was just an ent play. Yeah, I mean, I can see. I mean, I know what he's trying to do. I mean, he's just trying to do Yasuo things. Yeah. So with Yasuo down, C9's comp actually has the ability to go for something super aggressive here. And so these team fights are actually team fights. FlyQuest comp without Yasuo is so hard against C9's comp because of the other big thing you have in your comp is the Irelia burst and the LeBlanc burst, and Kindred can deny a lot of that. Okay, so this Baron setup is okay. I personally don't think they should have just went straight on the Baron because the amount of burst that LeBlanc can give. So LeBlanc, so with Kindred's ultimate being down, LeBlanc can actually just insta one-shot the enemy jungler, which is very concerning. So probably would have seen to set up a Death Brush. This is maybe the correct call. It's kind of hard to say. It's really hard to say because, like, Svenskeren, if LeBlanc can get around here, he gets one shot. But the thought is that they can deny LeBlanc to get in here, and their burn is so fast. But the fact of the matter is LeBlanc does get around. So maybe as soon as they see LeBlanc right here, they just go around, right? I think that's the game plan, right? I don't think you get Baron anymore. When LeBlanc gets right here, I don't think you get Baron. Wait, what? I don't think you get Baron if LeBlanc is right here. I think you just come out and you kill them all and then you win the game. That's the play. Okay, so the play is, so hindsight 2020 obviously, right? That's why I'm doing reviews. I'm not a player. But hindsight 2020. You set up for the Baron. You set it for the Baron, and they had correct vision. They had correct vision setup. So this Baron setup was actually good, right? Just adapting to what actually happens was bad. So having this pink ward here was great, so they can actually set up for this Death Brush to cancel people from getting in right here. And they have this vision ward to see the LeBlanc coming on the other side, because the only way this gets denied is that LeBlanc comes on the other side, bursts your jungler, and then the Sejuani comes in. So they have to zone the Sejuani, but LeBlanc comes on the other side. So as soon as the LeBlanc gets on this side, they should peel around and just kill the enemies, and they ace them, and then they can all peel back onto the Baron, and it's fine, because LeBlanc can't come in and murder your whole team, because you just killed their whole team, and LeBlanc's just going to have to leave. So that's more of the play. Or if the LeBlanc kills your jungler, who cares at that point, you know what I mean? Like, LeBlanc can't make that play anymore. Like, Zeyzal will just taunt her. This was pretty hype. ends up being like an even trade, you know. Both teams are gonna back. It goes into a replay, so I think so. What happens here is FlyQuest just goes straight to the dragon, and rather than backing, and then they go for a recall timing. I think is what happens right here. It's kind of hard to tell because it just shows me a replay. Okay, yeah, they go straight to so Turtle's dead, and then they go straight to the dragon, and then so C9 answers them and kills. It's kind of hard to tell because it didn't show like as a replay. So they kill them at the dragon. It's kind of hard to tell what actually happened. And FlyQuest got the dragon, but with the top winner down, they're like, let's go for a 50-50, boys. But it's not really like their Baron damage is so much, and they're also catching FlyQuest on a back timer because they know that well, one, not really necessarily back timer. Turtle was coming from base. They just killed somebody over here and chunked them, so they're coming from base. A lot of their members are coming from base as well, and they already had the like idea of moving towards Baron, so they have a lot of them coming from base. So they're gonna have the prio on it, and they think they can take the 50-50. It's not really a 50-50 because they're gonna burst. They're gonna burst the jungler, and if their jungler gets killed, they're just gonna win this fight anyway. This is a 4v5, and they're confident they're gonna win this fight, right? This is why they're taking it. So this is why this isn't that bad. So like obviously they lose the Baron, but they're confident they're just gonna win the fight. Yeah, so they end up acing anyways. So like this Baron like looks like really fiesta-y, but I'm fine with C9 taking this Baron because they're confident they're just gonna win the fight anyways. So this is fine. And with that team fight win, like the death timers are so long that they're able to just take mid and top. They just wanted to force a fight there. They just wanted to force FlyQuest to come and fight them. They didn't actually care about getting the Baron. If they got the Baron, then they end the game here. But if not, then they take 2 inhibs. Alright, so now obviously C9's going to base, and then they're going to look to pressure bottom mid, and then look for like an engage inside of their base right here, and pressure with supers, right? This game is now looking really good for C9. The only way FlyQuest wins this game is they look for like a Bobby Big fight. They just look for some crazy engage onto the Cassio or Kindred. Really onto the Kindred. It's the only way they win this game right now. But it's looking dire. Looking dire, folks. All right. Yep. So they just use some of their cooldown so they can get this inhibitor for free. Forces on the back, so the super's actually pushing in the tower. Yep. Irelia kind of ends there. Gets caught in the Galio taunt. And the game's over. There we go. There you have it. C9 with a scrappy victory. So some misexecutions by C9 in the game, but play the team fights mostly well, and really good on them like pulling the trigger on some. Look at this guy. Look at this jabroni. Really good on them pulling the trigger on a lot of the fights that they had to. So like that play to move towards the Baron at the end of the game was actually really good. Some misexecution on that first Baron, not the first Baron play, but the second time they went for a Baron when the LeBlanc kind of killed them all. Definitely would have been better to adapt to wrap around as soon as the LeBlanc actually got next to the pit. They had to pull off the pit, so that would be like the next level play there that they probably need to work on. But overall, pretty good play by C9. A little bit overzealous play by FlyQuest. Need to be a little bit more tempered and ways that they want to play their composition. So both of these teams had problems with they see a play that they want to do, and then when something goes wrong with that play, not being able to adapt in the moment. So like for example, when the FlyQuest went for that dive top, and then when they saw like when it was clear they couldn't do that dive anymore, they still went for it. When there was still a chance to peel away from that dive, they could have done it, but they just saw the win in their eyes. But somebody needs to call that off, and that just needs to be a team thing. And so that's just going to take time with teams learning, but that's going to get better as the season goes on. So that'll be cool to see as teams get better doing that. But that's what you see at the high level. So FlyQuest, definitely a good game by them today, but just C9 played better. This was a cool game because it was just who plays your comp better is going to win. So that's why it was a cool game. Anyways, that's going to be it for this VOD review. Thank you so much for coming by and watching this one. This was a long one, but thank you so much for watching this one. I really enjoyed doing this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys on the next one. I found the stop recording button. There it is. Okay. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.